Well, I hope you don't mind me doing this audio overlay. The wind that was out this day just was way too much, and you couldn't hear me talk. So basically, what I like to say is there are three different things affecting how quick you can put a porta boat together. One is how new it is. The newer it is, the harder it is to put together. One is the outside temperature. It's plastic, so if the outside temperature is real hot, in the hundreds, it's going to move easily. If it's cold, it's going to be hard. And the other is your experience. If you've done it a whole bunch of times, it's going to take less time to do it. So let's get started, and I'll show you how I put it together. I drop the lifelines on both sides of the cockpit, and then get the porta boat, bring it out, and put it cross ship. When you purchase a new porta boat, you get a helper board. This helps you open and close it. I usually take this helper board and I put it and one of the seats on the aft deck of the aft cabin, and then I go ahead and I move the porta boat from the side deck and put it out cross ship. You can see I'm doing it by myself. This is not a real hard thing to do, not real heavy. If you saw our earlier video, you see that I tied a string around it to have it when it was on our trailer, just to make sure it stayed closed during transport. Once I've got the string off, or whatever I've got holding it together, I sort of open it up a little bit, and I usually fold the painter into the boat. So at this point, I grab the painter out of the boat, go ahead and take any coiling out of it, and secure the end of the painter to the jib cleat, the jib sheet cleat, and put the rest of it in the water. That way I know when I launch the boat into the water, it's not going to leave me and float on off somewhere. So once the line is secured, I now start opening the boat. I find pretty much the easiest way to do this is just to hop into the boat, grab the helper bar, and use the helper bar to prop the boat open. Now, the trick here is you want to use the helper bar right near one of the seats. Whichever seat you're going to put in first, use the helper bar very close to that seat, and it will make it a little easier to put together. Now I'll grab the seat. In this case, the helper bar is right near the front seat, so I'll put the front seat in first. Put it into one side, put the pin in place, then make sure that the three seat supports go into the proper location that they're supposed to be in, and then put the seat into the groove on the other side and put that pin in place. once the seat's in, the helper bar just comes free, and it's no longer needed. And once one seat is in, it's not hard. I'll just pull it forward a little bit and go ahead and put the stern seat in next. But once again, put one side into the grooved area and the channel, put the pin in, make sure that the 3 seat supports are put in place. One goes to each chine of the bottom. And sometimes you got to push a little bit, but it's not hard to do. Now I'll go ahead and grab the stern and actually put the stern in at the same time. Now this new Porta-boat that we have, the stern has 4 bolts or screws with wing nuts on it. 2 are below the water line, so yeah, you get a couple drops in if you try to do it in the water, which isn't hard to do. I could put the boat in the water right now and then put the stern in, or in this case, because it's sitting nice and easy in the boat, I'll go ahead and put the stern in now using the 4 bolts. One has, or 2 of them have a rubber gasket on it. Those are the ones that go low on the outside of the hull, the rubber gasket on the outside. And I keep them in my ASB bag. You do have an ASB bag for your dink, don't you? I keep a sponge in mine, and I keep a Ziploc with the extra bolts and things like that. Also, what this is just a little bag that I got at like a hardware store or a 7-Eleven or one of the little stores. It's a lunch bag. It's an insulated lunch bag, and so because it's insulated, it floats. I keep in there some water. I keep in there a space blanket, and if we're not going to be in a anchorage that's completely surrounded by land, i.e., we could get sent out to sea, I also put in our handheld VHF in there. Hey, I've read about dinks being swept out to sea because the motor quit and the guy didn't have an oar or something like that, and people had to go looking for him. That's not what I want to happen to us. So we have an ASB for the big boat. We have an ASB for this boat. So now I'll go ahead and put in these 4 bolts, and I'll speed up just a little bit to go through that. So once the bolts are in, I put the plastic bag back in the case so that it's ready for the next time, and it's time to launch the Porta-boat. You might notice this white on the sides of the Porta-boat. The flotation is a foam, and in the tropical sun, it started shedding little bits. So on this new Porta-boat, I just used some contact cement and covered that foam with white Sunbrella. And I painted the seats white to make it easier to sit on. Joe is making seat covers for them also. Keeps the sun off, and we launch. And the Porta-boat is now ready for use. You've watched it. This is near real time. I cut out a little bit of the time it took me to put the screws in for the transom, but other than that, it's pretty much real time putting it together.